What does it mean to hold on to truth when everyone around you believes a lie? How much of our fate is determined by our own actions versus forces outside of our control? And if most people choose comfort over justice, can real change ever happen? These are just some of the questions we're going to address in today's episode with My Kill Militia. Let's check it out.
The system isn't broken, it's doing what it's supposed to do. I think we've lost our way for the large percentage of people, and I think those amongst us that really want to do the right thing are highly outnumbered right now. What you would call agape love actually exists in this world, which is like love without conditions on it. I don't believe that in a westernized society anymore either. I call it the United Snakes of America, right?
What's up? I'm Matt. Welcome to Earth Monster, the storytelling show that celebrates vulnerability and speaks to the darkest, messiest little parts of your heart about the lies that we tell ourselves every day, the stories that we use to get out of bed, the fantasies that we let propel our lives. I call these things necessary delusions, and you probably call them something different, like plans or goals or dreams or manifestations or personal philosophies. I don't know what you call them, but I am really interested in hearing all of the biggest ideas that we've had about ourselves and the world around us that have helped to shape or misshape the path that we have taken in life. And if you are the kind of Earth Monster who probably needs therapy, but you'd rather listen to a podcast, subscribe to the show. You found your people. My guest today is My Kill Militia, and he responded to this ad that I post on Craigslist in the Seattle area in Washington State. At least I think that's the ad that he responded to. And I've probably said it before, I'll say it again. If I'm the kind of Earth Monster to post this ad, and you're the kind of Earth Monster to respond to it, then we've already sort of agreed to meet on common ground. And that is exactly what happened in the talk today. My Kill Militia is a rapper, musician, and an awesome storyteller. We had an excellent talk, and I really appreciated the energy that he brought today. So I enjoyed it. I think you will too. And how did I want to start? Oh, he just comes off the top riffing on his ideas about the necessary delusions that have driven him. So let's go now to my conversation with My Kill Militia.
So I was thinking about this, and I was like, that there is justice, maybe, for Indigenous people, which when I say this is to be extended to not only Hispanics and like natives, but also Black people, because we were here already, right? And so throughout our whole history, we've been lied to. And I feel like, in my opinion, that a lot of organizations that have gotten rooted in whatever they were rooted in made it so they made it through either profiting off of the backs of somebody else or through some type of like criminology, bro. Like, honestly, I feel like there's a lot of that. And so we're told in America, hey, if you get up every day and you work hard, it's going to be okay. And you won't do this. And if you're civil, the police won't mess with you and all these things. I don't believe that to be true. The other thing that I also thought about is that given the right option, that people will, especially nowadays, do invariably the correct thing all this specific time, or not like move in a narcissistic pattern. I think that the snake pit outnumbers us more than we think that, and that's a rough standpoint for me, man.
Wow, wait. So let me just clarify both those, right? So the first one, are you categorizing this as a necessary delusion then, that there is justice for Indigenous people?
Mm-hmm.
Because you feel like everything seems to be sort of working systematically against Indigenous people, but you believe that there ultimately is justice. Yes?
I don't believe that we're going to find it in this play. I think that this is a search that we're going to continuously go after, and we're never going to see the end of what this is like made to be for us in terms of justice, right? Reason being, as far as quote unquote Black people, if that's what you want to call us, and I call it the United Snakes of America, right? So that's what you want to call us here. we were never to be included in the Constitution, bro. And we were never to see
Yeah.
equal treatment. And many of the amendments that were supposed to be ratified for our freedom were used to free other people as opposed to freeing us. So that's how I think.
Absolutely. The idea basically being that there's not justice for indigenous people.
I
I
don't
see.
think I
And
I think we're going to be stuck in this perpetual loop for an eternity, bro. Because that's the system isn't broken; it's doing what it's supposed to do.
yeah. And then I'm glad that I'm clarifying this. But so the second one was that that people will invariably do the right thing. But then you sort of ended by saying you think the snake pit is bigger than we even imagined. So I sort of thought you were saying like ultimately you really believe in people, but I think that what you're actually saying is ultimately you do not believe in people.
I don't believe in us anymore. I think we've lost our way for the large percentage of people, and I think those amongst us that really want to do the right thing are highly outnumbered right now. Um,
Yeah.
and that will be the third delusion is that like what you would call agape love actually exists in this world, which is like love without conditions on it. I don't believe that in a westernized society anymore either, bro. I don't.
Yeah.
But I tell myself this every day to like it's like, all right, so we walk down the street, we see a stranger, right? We say, hi, how are you doing? You don't really care how my day is going. You really don't care. We're striving to make a situation less uncomfortable. Or we want something
Yeah.
from the other person, is my opinion at this point.
Yeah. So I guess what I wonder immediately is like, how did those beliefs affect the way that you approach the world? Like when you walk down the street, if you say like, "How you doing?" to someone, do you really care? Are you just trying to sort of pass the moment by? Do you feel connected to the people around you? Um, do you feel like your efforts in life matter or will add up to something if you don't believe in the ultimate sort of like justice?
I think that if I like so how can I say? I say if I do what I do for myself in the end, then yeah, like it's gonna be the way that it is. But also at this certain point in time, there's things that are outside of my control that I can't fix, or like maybe a height that I won't reach due to the way that things are set up here. Period. Right? Like I have no
Yeah.
illusion for example, I'm gonna be Jigga with my music overnight. Do I think that I could make like a cult following like MF Doom? Yeah, I absolutely believe I can make a cult following like MF Doom. But I
Yeah.
don't think I'm gonna see Jigga heights anytime soon, bro. It's not happening. I'm not shutting down Madison Square Garden anytime I could probably down a local cantina by me, but it's not gonna happen like that. To answer your other questions, for me, I do care. But that's the reason why I believe the way that I am now is because I've seen what happens when I care and other people don't care. And so because of those terms and conditions and consequences, so if you're familiar with 5% poor righteous teachers, like even in that mathematics, like
Mm.
we're outnumbered, right? So 85% of the
I'm not
world,
familiar with that. I'm sorry. Say,
I
can you just explain
I
context?
So there is an establishment called the Nations of the Gods in the Earth, right? And so within that belief, what they do is called a 120, which is some mathematics that you have to stand upon. It's called supreme mathematics. It's an ideological anchor of living, essentially, that helps you to be civilized in society and how we should all conduct ourselves. Within these things, though, there's still a mathematical setting that says 5% of the world are inevitably what's called poor righteous teachers. So people like Jesus, if you would, like Gandhi, the dude who established it, his name is Clarence 13X. People like that, establishments like the Panthers, things of this nature, right? So there's this
Hmm.
5% of the world that have a certain type of civility and like knowledge access to knowledge that they're striving to use to liberate people, right?
Hmm.
85% of those people are the people on the earth within that structure are deaf, dumb, and blind. Meaning, like, we could try to wake them up, but they probably, like, at this rate, we far in the game. I don't know if we gonna wake them up, bro. It's a lot. And then 10% would be basically manipulating those same like lessons or structures for elite control. And that's what
I
I
see.
think. That's what the makeup that I think that we have in the United States, and this is why the chessboard is set the way that it is because like the system's not broken; it's doing what it's supposed to be doing.
I see. So, My Kill Militia, just real quick, why don't you just give a little plug to your music, just where we can find you, what they're going to find when they get there, just so.
So, yes, sir. So, Purple Crown is my establishment. What happened is I ran into some Wu Tang affiliates. Shout outs Prime Omega, who's 10th Chamber Wu Tang, Brooklyn Zoo. Shout out Ogun God of Iron. So we basically made an establishment called Purple Crown, and so you're gonna find 5% mathematics if you like Raz Kaz, if you like Wu Tang, things of that nature. You're gonna find a lot of an enlightenment and a different perspective on the world in my music. I'm available on YouTube, SoundCloud, anywhere else. My biggest space that I'm currently in right now is you guys can come to my TikTok at je.militi. And then also shout outs to West Coast Mafia and DJ Blue and 11-3 Records, my guy Hodge, because they're about to put me on wax in the UK in like the next month or two. So salute them and shout out to them. Oh, and last thing too. Please, thank you. Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. No, I'm digging the conversation, man. I wanna take it back a little bit. I would
Okay.
love to learn a little bit more about you and sort of your origin. If you would humor me in this, what would you say was the most important thing in the world to you when you were 11 years old?
Probably not being part of a society that I think is gonna judge people unfairly and establishing like how can I say it? Like better societies for us as a whole, bro. Honestly, like just like striving to maintain our humanity as the indigenous, bro. I've always been like this, man. So I came from a broken family, and so I've seen these types of things that have happened. My mom like strived her whole life to be a teacher, and then when she finally did become a teacher, they dropped her because she wasn't accepting of Common Core, and they wanted her to teach things that she didn't want to teach. So she's always had books in our household, like they came before Columbus. I grew up off of books like the Jolly Ranchers Guide, things of that nature. Behold Up Hell Horrors, 1984. All these things, bro, that I grow up off of these types of books, and I was always educated in my household as to who I am and what my presence and my place is in this world. Like my mom had always strived to make that a thing for me. Matter of fact, I got removed in kindergarten for telling the teacher that Christus Atticus was the first person shot. I don't know if I can say that word here, but like now it's kind of too late. But the first person shot in the Revolutionary War of 1812, and that that's what they do to us as the indigenous is that they put us on the front line and make us do their dirty work. She don't like the answer. They sent me directly to the principal's office, and my mom had to come up to school and tell her, "Don't ever tell my son that what he told you was wrong, or send him to the principal's office when what he told you was right." And I educated him. So this is like kind of
Yeah.
the hardships I had to face, growing up.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's like, I mean, the story that she was telling at home must have been, super vivid, to make that kind of impact. I mean, obviously you're still living and breathing it, to this day. But I'm curious about, like, at the time, are you living in a world where those ideas are not, commonly favored? Did you feel yourself at any point like being swayed, like, oh man, my mom's talking crazy at home, or was it the opposite? And were you feeling like when you were out in the world, did you find yourself getting into like conflicts and that kind of thing about it?
Yeah, I think that we've always lived in a diluted world, and that the truth is hidden from us purposely to keep us enslaved. That's been my thoughts, and that's probably going to stay my thoughts for the rest of my life, just due to our interactions in this world.
What did that do to like your social situations, the way that you sort of engaged with like your peers and stuff like that? Like, did you find yourself like, I mean, right away you say kindergarten, you're saying something sort of against what the teacher is teaching. So does that breed kind of like a what kind of mindset? I'm just sort of trying to imagine for myself, if I were to put myself in your shoes, it would sort of make me think like I'm holding on to something here that like everyone else doesn't know about. Like I'm sort of like working in the background a little bit. Like I've been shown behind the curtain and these people are all still they can't see it.
That
Is that accurate?
Yeah, that's the beauty of who I am is I feel like that's very revolutionary thinking. I think people like Malcolm X, people such Huey P. Newton, people like this are very revolutionary, and they like we aren't meant to fit in because we're meant to stand out, and that's what that is. For me, like they want us to be like corporate automatons or cogs in the wheel, and that's not how I function, bro. Like, yeah, I go to a regular job Friday through Sunday, but that's why I made sure that I only have to go there Friday through Sunday. And the rest of the
Yeah.
time I can do what I gotta do, in terms of whatever I want to do, be it my music. Uh, I'm reading in peer support and human services too. So if I'm, using those tools to assist people and to show people that might have the same ideals as me, or maybe even they don't know what ideals they hold and they feel lost because of their thoughts on society. Like, I want to help those people. I think they're divine and they're cosmic and they should be helped, bro.
I feel like I feel like you just put such a fine point on it on your perspective. I think, did you say we weren't meant to fit in, we're meant to stand out?
Facts.
And is that the mentality that you feel like you carried with you growing up?
Yes, sir. I mean, I was always in advanced classes until I stopped going to school in like towards the end of high school. I stopped going to school. And the reason why for mostly of that was because a lot of the kids that were quote unquote like, these IB classes would like talk badly about the people that weren't in these classes that were a lot of my friends that coming from urban settings. And so I found myself getting into lots of mini confrontations like, well, why don't you go talk to that person and tell them that? You know what I mean? Like, why are you kicking and ha-haing in this class? That's not cool, bro. And just because you think you're smarter than somebody else, you're in your IB classes, like you treating people poorly or badly because you feel like you special or you elite, like that's really demonic to me, bro. And I don't like that type of behavior. So yeah.
It's interesting when you look back at that situation now as an adult. What do you think about the choice that you made? So you stopped going to high school then over this,
I
yeah?
I did. Eventually I ended up like pretty much slowly dropping out of school, and in turn, actually what they did with me is they turned me into a peer mediator in school because they were like, his test scores are astronomical, but we can't figure out where he clicks at. Why is he like this? Because I don't like the way y'all system is instituted. I believe a thing exists called I call it the kindergarten and prison pipeline. So it's made for us to be pushed into specific institutions and into mental slavery. And at the
Yeah.
time as I'm growing up, I might not always fully comprehend that, but something inside of me comprehended that.
Yeah. You
Mhm.
know, it just makes me think growing up with these beliefs that, you were talking to your mom about and everything that we've been saying really. It was almost like written before it happened that you were going to break out of this institution. It makes sense that you wouldn't finish high school. Do you see what I'm saying? Like almost like that this was going to that you were not going to let that happen. Like you were not going to let the system serve you because you didn't believe the system was serving you.
So I will say this. So I ultimately went and got my diploma. I do have my associate's degree in business foundations. I have a rooting in peer support and human services, and I will be going back to school by the end of the year, even though
Oh wow.
I don't necessarily believe that university or college, like what that's for, is a large gimmick. But in order to have a better foothold in what we call the westernized wilderness here, then you have to do that. Because if not, they're not gonna look at you like the same. And I owe myself these things. I'm a very highly educated individual. But I also believe in synchronicity, like what you just said, Matt. Yeah, I think I was meant to be this all the time, bro.
Yeah. talk to me about standing out when you look back at your life, like maybe even looking at the time when you started your independent adult life. You kind of stepped out from your family and you sort of joined the world as an adult. What were some of the ways that you were trying to stand out?
Mm, for me, like hip hop's always been my language, right? Because I feel like math, science, music, these are the languages of the divine, right? So for me, these have always been things. I've always been interested in quantum physics. Like we were wearing anime shirts back when they thought it was geeky and nerdy, and we were involved in like anime. I was an otaku back before I didn't even know what that was, bro. You know what I mean? Like, and they used to think like, oh, you guys, some of people would be like, oh, you guys are different than us. Like, yeah, that's cool. Like, but I maybe necessarily growing up wasn't maybe so ready to embrace those differences. Now I'm ready
Hmm.
to embrace those differences because I am what I am, and I understand that I'm not meant to fit in, bro. I'm meant to stand out. That's the reason why we are what you know what I mean? That's
Yeah.
why so many of us commonly believe in like things like angel numbers, divinity, prophecy, sacred manuscripts, like all these different studies that we've been doing um, have been commonly the way that they are because there's like but one sacred truth for us, but it's divided so it'll rein us back into the world. That's my belief, if that makes any sense.
Let's talk about your 20s. What choices were you making? What'd you do after high school? Where were you? Maybe a standout moment or two, something that meant a lot to you at the time.
I'm gonna say this way respectably. I'm a justice involved individual, right? I have a clouded past, and a jaded past at that. I've been around a couple different blacklisted organizations myself, and I'm gonna leave that. I'm gonna just put a thumbtack in that and put that to the side, right?
Sure.
Um, but I will say that like 16 growing up, I was involved in different institutions, if you will, right? So growing up into my 20s, like I was slowly starting to get away from that. 21, I was still in an urban setting and exploring who I was and, you know, um, under the influences of, substances that are now legal, but back then those substances weren't legal.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of illegality, and that's where a lot of my jaded past have begun from. But also at the same point in time, again, I was studying. I was reading books like Journey to Itlan, Celestine Prophecy, things like Four Agreements, 40 Laws of Power, Art of Seduction. Like all these books that I was studying, I was really heavily involved in that. But again, with the jaded past and in the urban setting,
Yeah.
doing music too. So yeah, doing music too. And
Doing the
oh,
music.
that's the thing too is teaching. Growing up, me and my brother taught at like a community center.
Hmm.
So we would go to the studio. We would go to the studio, and I don't know what kind of verbiage that we're allowed to use here, but um,
Whatever you like.
so respectfully, we would go, get some MMJ, go get some food, go to the studio. My brother would make some beats, and the hot ones we would keep, and the ones that he didn't want, we would sell, and then we would go do whatever we wanted to do. But also at the same time, for those that like we felt were drawn to us, we would help them and we would teach them, bro. Like, we were revolutionary still in our neighborhood, even though we were quote unquote blacklisted, if you will. Justice involved individual.
How old were you when that was happening?
That's like again from 16 to 21. All that, yeah.
And how close would you say that is to the way that you still operate to this day?
I'm not so much justice like driven individual. I still have some issues, if you will, and some jaded past, if you will, that I have to clean up. But now I'm through doing the elites work for them. What I want right now is peace, and for us, that's an acronym, which means proper education always creates consistent elevation. So I stay on my wise mind 90% of the time. I stay researching. I stay looking for places like this that I can reach out and we can express our truths and connect with those that are meant to come to us. I strive to be like a divine entity myself, and like wherever source code tells me to go to help other people out, 9 times out of 10, I'm gonna do that. Other than that, I'm in the house. If it's not for music or it's not work, man, I'm out the way, bro. Cause I'm good. I don't want no more smoke. You know what I mean? Like it's
Yeah.
over. I'm later in age now. You know what I mean? I don't want to live like how I was before I even migrated to Mexico, bro. I lived in Mexico for like 6 months to a year with my BM. Just living down there because again I'm from San Diego. Living down there too was like a kind of like a jaded past, and being involved in all the things that I was involved in. I'm through with that route. I don't want those types of things in my life anymore, bro. Everything
Yeah.
that I do is striving for positivity now. It's not like I feel like a lot of the things that I did back then were like maybe for survival mode, or maybe because I just had a curiosity for like a darker side of life or something of that nature. Now I've already lived that. I don't have that curiosity anymore. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that don't mean just because I'm not with the smoke don't mean I can't be with the smoke. If you feel what I'm saying, though. You know what I mean? Like that's one of
When you look back over your life, can you think of any delusions that you had about yourself or about the world that sort of weren't true, or would have you wish you could go back and sort of just say to yourself like this isn't what you think it is, or do you know what I mean? Could be with anything. It sounds like sort of your main mission, your main path. Like I think a lot of us stays true to this day, but it's like I'm just curious about like yeah, things that didn't end up sort of panning out the way that you thought that they would, ideas that maybe you wish you had shaken off sooner than you did.
I feel like they don't teach us again to be anything in an urban setting um, previously back then besides a corporate automaton. I wish I had a knew better about businesses and setting up businesses and increasing generational wealth and being in
Mm-hmm.
tune with my spirituality and who I am as a divine entity sooner, and like realizing what path to steer away from, because it would have prevented me a lot of heartbreak.
Yeah, man, I feel that when you say it. What were your kind of thoughts about that sort of stuff when you were younger? If we were to like zap back to you as 20 years old, 19 years old, something like that, and to talk to you about like what about learning to set up a business, or what about your spiritual life? What do you think your mentality about that stuff would have been at the time?
I didn't really know too much about that at that point in time of what I wanted to do. See, so I went to computer school first after I graduated from high school, right after I got my attained my diploma. That didn't work out for me because it was just like too tedious, and I'm like, I can break down and set up a computer now. I can break up and set up a DJ booth now, but like doing installs like that at that time wasn't working for me, and I didn't understand it. If I had have understood my passion for business and what I wanted to do previously, again, I think that would have saved me a lot of heartache and a lot of time. Also, like just realizing that consistency is key. Shout outs to my guy Nikita Hodge at 11-3, and that like we have to stay studious in our craft because that's what's necessary for us. I don't think I fully got what I am today back, because that it wasn't bred into us, it wasn't nurtured, we weren't raised up in that way, and a lot of it was looked at as um I guess the proper terminology today is diabolical. That's how they looked at us. They treat us like we're predators, bro.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So those things, like, now I'm comfortable. If that's what society that I feel like is like not made for us anyways is gonna treat us as, I should have departed from this place a long time ago, or I should have did what I'm doing now and just like stayed in my lane, taught my truth, and help other people so that they feel stable and consistent, as opposed to what I was doing back then. Because back then I just thought willful destruction was cool. It's not. It's really not, and that's not how we are to use or utilize our divinity, if you will.
Yeah. There's this underlying sort of a message I feel like you keep touching on it as you're talking here, and it's interesting because I actually feel this in myself as well, and I've always thought it was because my mom was a teacher,
Mhm.
but you say you keep sort of referencing helping other people, teaching other people. How do you find yourself helping people today?
Each one teach one, man. That's the thing, right? Like that's the first thing.
What is
So
it? Sorry,
each one teach one.
each one teach one.
Each one teach one, bro. Like it's important. So my publisher told me a long time ago. It's a couple things. It's a model that we use. One is we don't uh we don't let demons chase us. We chase them. That's one. The second thing is like educate, empower, entertain, enlighten, and inspire. Those are like pillars that we have back when I was doing pardon self podcast. Like I'm not new to this. I'm true to this, and I understand what my expression is. I think that in order for us to have a better society, again, each one teach one. Even at my work, like yesterday before I left work, one of the guys and one of the younger guys at my work was having some issues. He was talking to me about that I won't reveal, but I'll just be like he was having some issues. He came up to me and we were talking, and he was like, I noticed that when you speak, it's with wisdom and knowledge, bro, and that I should tune in and listen. And I'm like, yo, like I worked that a long way. I did an oath of silence. Honestly, I took a tutelage this year where basically like if you don't have something important to say, like don't say nothing at all. Like, and if you don't know what you're talking about, like don't do that. Like, because it's just not wise. You
Yeah,
gotta move wisely, bro. So
that's cool.
that's what I will say for that part of the mission.
How long did you do the side? So you took that on yourself this year. You said if I don't have something uh worthwhile to say or something wise to say, I'm not going to say anything.
So I was in me establishing Purple Crown and me meeting these Wu affiliates. That was part of the mission that I was given. An instruction that I was given by one of my elders in the camp was basically like in the Buddhist culture, won't speak if it's not wise, bro. Like there's a reason
Hmm.
why you see like monks staying silent or like bowing consistently in fervent prostration or prayer, because it takes a certain frequency for you to emit, for you to like reach your what we would call highest state of divinity, right? With authenticity being the highest frequency. A lot of people I feel are like disingenuine and maybe even narcissistic in the way that they move. And like
Yeah,
I used to feel like that was their fault. I don't think it's their fault no more. I just eat like there's a difference between fault and responsibility, right? It's your responsibility to educate yourself on that, but it's not your fault because that's the way you was taught. Does it make sense?
absolutely. I'm wondering, do you feel like if you looked back at yourself, a younger version of yourself, do you feel like narcissism was ever a part of your path? Did you ever sort of embody that thing that you now are sort of have let go of or something?
I don't believe that because in my heart, I really do care about
Yeah.
people, but I also know that I gotta protect my own divine essence. Like again, Wu Tang scripture protects your neck. Like it's called that for a reason because they really out here striving to unalive a lot of us that are striving to help other people out. And one of my quotes is when a revolution is forthcoming, what they'll do is bring dissension to that revolution to cause a rebellion so that that frequency won't exist.
I'll tell you something about myself. I'm wondering how you are like what kind of neighbor you are. I think that I'll just like I'll tell you a little bit about myself. I think my neighbors here probably would be very surprised to hear the conversations that I have on this podcast in my garage, because I don't like to talk to my neighbors. I think it's part social anxiety, and I think that it's part just the proximity. Somebody can watch you like walk in and out your door anytime. I don't like people to have that access all the time. You know what I mean? I want to be able to like come and go kind of without the all the stuff, but it can sometimes make for uncomfortable sort of interact. It's maybe not even my favorite part about myself, right? Sometimes I wish I was I'm a friendly person. I love talking to strangers. Obviously, look at what I'm doing right now, just like looking for conversations with people to talk about like what they really believe. But I don't know. It's not the way I am with with my neighbors, if that makes sense. I wonder how these ideas that you have that you're sort of sharing with us today, how do they sort of, do you feel like it's always consistent in the real world, or do you similarly have stuff where you're just like, I'm just going to like try to move past this moment and not talk to this person or something?
I learned to stay in my lane because again, like if the with the how can I say it, with the frequency that I have, I understand that when how can you say it? In the Matrix, Neo or Morpheus tells Neo that there's people within this world that are so embedded in the rooting of this world and the indoctrination of this world that if you strive to free them, they will strive to unalive you because that's what programming they're complicit with. I'm gonna stay in my lane. I'm gonna say hi. You know what I'm saying? I said hi to my neighbors earlier, but I was also shocked because I do strive to stay quiet over here. That today, when the mailman brought my mail, he was like, "Oh yeah, the neighbor was talking about you, and this is for you." What? How you? I don't. How do you know who I was? Because he was like, "That's for you." Like he knew my name, and I was like shocked because I'm like, I don't. I never went over there. I stay over there. If I'm walking down the street and they're in the path, I'm not gonna be rude and not say hi, you know what I mean, as we impede each
Sure.
other's paths, but I'm not going over to your house for cookies, man. We might
Yeah.
not like the same cookies. You know what I mean? Or I might like edible cookies and you might not like edible cookies. So
Yeah. It sounds like you're in Washington State, though. They probably like edible cookies. Come on. Um,
facts,
it's 2025. I think we've learned most of us like edible cookies now.
facts,
Um,
bro.
why don't you just? I really enjoyed this conversation, man. I really appreciate you signing up to do this. One more thing, I guess. Can you talk to me about creature comforts?
I grew up raised around German Shepherd and things of that nature, right? I had a cat when I grew up. I had a hamster when I grew up. Right now, like I feel like the only thing that I want around me is like maybe a beta at this point. But I will say this: if I could come back as any animal, it would either be a white wolf or a red panda.
I love it. Why do you say white wolf or a red panda?
Because they're just so like a white wolf is savage and they're cool, and pandas are like cuddly, but if you mess with one, it'll mess you up. It'll get you. And red is my favorite, is one of my favorite colors. So
I love that you took it so literally to creatures. I was actually referring to you as the creature. Like, what are the things around you that make you feel comfortable? That you really just love. You know, one guy recently, I asked him about his creature comforts. He said, "Oh, I'm never too far away from a cup of coffee." I thought that was a good answer.
all right. So what fuels me? G Fuel, great music, uh, good love, and the company of harmonious and sanctimonious people without any hidden agenda.
I love
And
it, man.
knowledge and light and justice, bro. 12 jewels of life. If y'all don't know, y'all know.
And you still read, I think, don't you? You read books
I do.
regularly?
I do. Well, you know what it is nowadays I have Alexa. So Alexa, stop. But now I have her. So she, so now she tells me, Audible's a thing. So
Yeah.
like I prefer that way. Even though I do love the feel of print still, you know what I
Hmm.
mean? I still love that feel, but I'm glad that like the Library of Alexandria is digital now. Like that's fire.
Well, listen, man, I really appreciate you doing this. Do I have your permission to share this recording online in the
Yeah,
podcast socials, all the kind of materials that I create out of this?
yeah, I would love it. I would just ask that you would email me any available copies as well so that I can like chop it up, or if you're on social media like TT, maybe we could follow each other, you know what I mean? And I can repost it,
Absolutely.
those things because that was one of my goals and aims coming here too. And I really had a wonderful time here with you today. And
Oh,
thank you
thanks,
for
man.
checking my music out and doing your research, brother.
Oh, it was my pleasure, man. Why don't you just give yourself one more plug here? Just anyone who wants to listen to your music or
Definitely. Michael Militia, the most hated. If you guys are looking for me at JE.MILITA on TT or Michael Militia, that's MYKILL space MILITIA on most platforms, specifically YouTube.
I love it, man. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me, and y'all have a beautiful day. Earth Monsters in the building. Yeah. All right.
What do you think, Earth Monster? Do you still believe in the goodness in people? Do you believe in unconditional love? In listening back to this talk, I feel like I missed the opportunity to string together an important point, which is the time and passion that My Kill Militia puts into peer support and mentorship. From becoming a peer mediator in high school, to the mentorship that he and his brother would do in the community, to the peer support services that he still engages in today. Even though he may have lost some of his faith in people, he still cares. He still tries to help other people to feel stable and consistent, to chase their demons so that they don't get chased. Because each one teach one. He strives for positivity, and he believes math, science, and music are languages of the divine. And willful destruction is not cool. We have to stay studious on our craft. And he says that we need to embrace the differences because we're not meant to fit in. We're meant to stand out. So figure out what kind of earth monster you want to be. Get an idea and hang on to it tight, like a dog with a bone. Think it, feed it, do it. We will be back next week with more epic. Oh, and if you are the kind of earth monster who probably needs therapy, but you'd rather listen to a podcast, subscribe to the show. You found your people. We will be back next week with more epic everyday stories of success and redemption. We'll see you next time.